Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we have our preview coming right up of the East Final, the Eastern Final of the CFL playoffs 2024 CFL Grey Cup 111 playoffs. And it is the Montreal Alouettes who will now be taking on the Toronto Argonauts, the winner of the Ottawa-Toronto game in the East semifinals. So Toronto won their way into this game. And then obviously Montreal had to clinch that through their incredible performance this season. Rick, thoughts?
You know what? I'm actually curious. Which game's going to be better? This one or the West Final?
It's got to be the West Final, I'm not going to lie.
Because people are calling it the Banjo Bowl rematch.
Like the West Final?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what it is? And it's not that this game won't be a big deal. This game absolutely will be a big deal. And it will be a big
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
We will be live
Saturday.
Streaming it. We will be live streaming this game. And Rick, do you want to do it on Canadian Football Central? I'll show you kind of the ropes on how to
I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it both
we'll do it on
games.
Canadian Football Central. I'll kind of show you how to operate the system I got set up, and I'll get as much of it set up in advance for you as I can. And so, yeah, we'll do a stream on Canadian Football Central. I'll be there for as much of the game as I can be until I have to get going for the West Final, which I will be attending, which will be a
funny
great
thing
time.
is,
And Rick
would it not be hilarious if we got more views with me going solo? But the two of us.
That would be the biggest middle finger to me. Rick's like, by the way, ratings plummet when you start talking.
Hey, you said that, not me.
It's okay. I can still blame you for shit. That's how victim mentality works, Rick.
Hey, that's okay. We only had to do it twice today. We only had to do the intro twice today.
No, but this should be a great game. Obviously, this will be really interesting if Winnipeg ends up winning the West, in the sense of that you have the two teams that beat Winnipeg at the Grey Cup going against each other in the East Final. And this will be a big game as Montreal's looking to reclaim that throne. They got a week off, which is both a good thing and a bad, in the sense of that they've gotten a week to rest players in order to ensure that they are healthy and ready to go. But then sometimes having that week off, sometimes it allows guys to, I was someone who, when I played hockey, and I was in tournaments, I liked playing 2 games a day. I enjoyed that. I liked the momentum. Still kind of had the adrenaline from the first one in the second game. I liked playing games back to back just because I felt like it was more so carrying the momentum. Any more than that, then maybe not. But and with football, I will say it's a bit tougher. Like I remember one week we played 2 games in a week, which was pretty brutal in terms of that. You get pretty beat up in football, and so no ample time to rest was something. But all in all, this should be a great game. And Toronto put up a scary performance last game with them just completely running over the Red Blacks from an assortment of things, where the Ottawa Red Blacks secondary just completely fell apart. I say fell apart, but honestly, they fell apart before the game started, considering the fact that there was no portion of that game where really they had the passing game that in check. Toronto tried getting that rushing game going early on, and got kind of mixed results with it. And then afterwards, they switched to the passing game, got crazy success with it, and just kept running with that the rest of the game, and Ottawa never really recovered. Despite a great offensive performance by the Red Blacks, the defense failed them that night. And so, however, I will say, important thing to keep in mind, one of the biggest assets of the Toronto Argonauts team is their defensive line, and Ottawa actually did a pretty good job keeping them at bay. So that's kind of one weapon that was a little bit neutralized in that game. So I'd be curious to see how the offensive line of the Alouettes is able to do, considering that they have a very capable offensive line for them. Now, With the Alouettes, their number one goal will be their secondary, their defensive backs, their corners, those outside linebackers, stopping the passing game and preventing Chad Kelly from doing what he did in Ottawa, where he was, making 1-2 passes, and he would go from his own side of the field and into the opponent's end zone. And so that was a huge issue. But before we kind of get a little bit into that, two things. First of all, we'd like you to like, share, and subscribe if you had not already. If you're listening to this on Spotify, give us 5 stars and like the video. We will very, very much appreciate that. However, in order to kind of get a good idea of things, we have to know the injury report. And I believe Rick has that pulled up. Is that correct?
Oh, I have lots of stuff pulled up on my end.
All right, well, let's start with that.
So Amos, his knee was limited. Coxie did not play. He's out with knee. Jamie Harry did not practice with a hip injury. Those are the only 3 injuries for Toronto. For Montreal, you have Josh Donovan, offensive line, did not practice. Mustafa Johnson, knee, did not practice. Thiessen Otis Copeland, defensive back, did not practice. And Joseph Zima, punter, right knee, limited.
Yeah. Any more? Or is that all we got?
Wow. No, I was just looking at the other game and the amount of injuries in that. I'm like, oh wow. No, those are the only injuries.
Okay, so all in all.
I also sent you a link on Discord that has if you go near the bottom of it, it has the playoff record head to head.
Ooh.
Between dating back to 1946.
Awesome. Alouettes Argos. Let's see here. What is the all-time record? I'm looking here for that.
Playoff is 10-8.
10-8 for who?
Montreal.
Where do you see that? Because I see all the things laid out game by game.
Keep on going down. You'll see it. It's near the bottom.
It's near the bottom. Total all-time record. Montreal leads 10-8. And what is their record actually this season? Not
this
necessarily in the playoffs,
season,
but
nope. So this season, so if we go,
wow, and just in general, Montreal leads the all-time series 145, 144, and 5. All-time, all kind of calculated together. But it looks like Toronto, I believe, has the season series against Montreal, where is that correct, this year?
So Montreal won 30-20, week 4.
And then Toronto
won 37-18.
And then 37
in week 6. Yeah, so Toronto has the season series.
Oh, man, this is difficult. I don't know, because, for a while, I was leaning towards Montreal. But after seeing what Toronto did last week, man, and seeing that the way the Argos have done pretty well against the Alouettes, and that they have momentum, I don't know.
So here's the thing. So I'll give Toronto the edge in quarterback.
Yep.
Depending on who you look at it, you could say running backs could be equal, give or take. Mm-hmm. Or you could give Carey a little bit of the edge. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers, you have Polk and you have Daniels. Coxie's injured right now. So those 2 players are the only 2 that had 500 yards or more for Toronto. If you go to Montreal, you have Speaker,
yep.
Rambo,
yep.
Julian Grant, White, Sneed, Austin Mack, Nathaniel Bahar. There's just more.
I don't think Tyson Philpott, is he?
No, he was done for the season.
Yeah,
he's still on crutches.
Yeah, no, I was pretty sure he was done. Yeah, no, I just wanted to confirm that.
But I mean, overall, it's just they have Um, the depth for receivers goes to Montreal.
I see.
But I mean, with Chad Kelly, you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, no. Well, and even then, it's like they've realized that they can rely on Polk, and that was enough for them, you know. So it's just kind of an interesting thing to see. The but with the Alouettes, I think the Alouettes have a little bit of a. I don't know if the receiver advance. I think the receivers, it's relatively even. I just think that they'll probably get similar amount of receiving yards. I just think that Toronto's will be a lot more concentrated on Daniels and on Polk, whereas I think Montreal will be spreading the ball around a little bit more. This is very, very difficult though, because like if you would have asked me before last week, I would have said, I think Montreal's winning this game all the way. But now I really don't know. Like, could Toronto do it? They very well could because they really performed damn good last game. There's a lot of momentum there, and I mean, Montreal of any team here knows how important momentum can be to get yourself to the Grey Cup. I mean, that's what got them to the Grey Cup, and that's what won them the Grey Cup. So
I will say it's all going to come down to Cody Fajardo.
yeah, he needs
Like, like
well,
the last
Cody
2 weeks, he
Fajardo and
was
the Alouettes
garbage.
secondary, their defense, the Alouettes secondary.
Hmm.
So that is going to be real crucial.
But I mean, also at the same time, if Amos is not playing for Toronto, you gotta put someone out there in that spot too.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, like what else do we got here? Like if we're looking at things, I got a bunch of stuff coming up on my phone. That's not what I'm. It's not what I want. But if we look at like say, because if we're let's kind of go through the bit here. So if we're looking at quarterbacks, I think Toronto definitely has the edge. I think Chad Kelly's better than Cody Fajardo. I think Cody Fajardo is very good, but I think Chad Kelly's a better quarterback. I think he's better at running. I think his passing game when it is on point, he really is that damn good, like him or not.
Hmm.
Um, on the running back side of things, I think Toronto has to have the edge here with Kadeem Carey. And in terms of the offensive line, I think that Montreal has a bit of an edge there. I think Montreal's offensive line has been very, very good. And then if we look towards those receiving core, um, I think Montreal has better depth, but Toronto is better star power. Now, also to be fair, I'm saying that with Tyson Philpott injured, I would maybe give Montreal the edge in terms of star power if Tyson Philpott was healthy, but he's not. And so that's kind of an important thing to factor. When it comes to
But
kickers, who do you think of these two? Like I think
so
you
if
give the
you
edge to probably Toronto with Howard Lahu. I think.
so one thing that I will mention before I go into that is for the running backs, depending on what you're looking at, if you're talking about rushing wise, you give it to Carey. If you give it to all around, Walter Fletcher has had almost between 14 and 15 all purpose yards. So it depends on what you're
Yeah.
including. As far as kickers go, um, I mean, they're both pretty much equal. I mean, Maltos's longest in the season was 53. Larham's was 51.
Really? I thought he kicked 55 for some reason. Hmm.
Maltos played 4 less
The other thing we
games,
also
and
have
he
to
still
realize is
had a
that
better completion number.
if we're looking at Haralahu, this is a guy this guy that's been around the CFL
Hmm.
very long time, very much a veteran kicker. And so when it comes to playoff performance, that may favor him a little bit more. We'll have to see. But relatively even, I think is probably fair. If we look at the defense, the because here's one thing where I think people that are talking about how the Argos have this great chance and they really can do a lot. There's one critical thing that I think they're excluding. You know what it is?
What's that?
So they put up 58 points, Rick, last week. They gave up
Mm-hmm.
38 to Ottawa. Now I'd argue
Yeah.
that Montreal's ability to get points on the board is a lot better than Ottawa's. And that's the
And I
thing
mean,
is that
Montreal has better
as much as
defense than
the
Ottawa.
yes, yes, I think the Alouettes will have I think because you have to realize that the Argos offense put up 44 of those 58 points because it was a defense that put up the two pick sixes near the end. So because of that, 44 points offensively. You're not going to get that against Montreal. Montreal will not give up as much. The thing you need to be worried about is that only 6 points away is what you gave up to Ottawa. If you give that up again, I think Montreal wins that game. I think if you're Toronto and you give up 38 points, I don't think you're winning against the Alouettes, and that's kind of the difficult part. In terms of defensive line, I probably give it to Toronto. However, I don't think Montreal's is as far off from Toronto's at times. Um, and so close, but I think Toronto has the edge there. If we're looking at that linebacker core, man, I don't even know. This is where it gets difficult. The Alouette secondary, and there's the linebackers, so it's outside linebackers especially, and your corners, your DBs, all that sort of stuff, your safeties. They got a lot of really damn good guys on the Alouettes. So if I'm just looking here, I'm gonna try to
And
get kind of the
no,
roster.
so here's another thing that you got to remember
Mm-hmm.
is Toronto only has Chad Kelly.
Yeah.
Montreal has Cody Fajardo, Davis Alexander, and Dominic Davis.
Yeah, although realistically, you would never need all like the Davis Alexander is kind of the big one there in the sense of that, heaven forbid something happens, um,
And
in
Cody
terms of a
Fajardo
quarter.
plays like Chad Kelly last year.
Then I think Davis Alexander is actually a reasonable alternative that you can put in that might actually be able to still win you that game. With the Argos, I don't like as much. Like I'll put it this way: Davis Alexander, I think, is a better backup than Cameron Dukes. I think Cameron Dukes is
Yeah.
still decent. However, the Toronto Argonauts have also kind of been tempted to go with Nick Arbuckle, which I mean, I guess they could. Um, I kind of would be hesitant about that. I'm looking at that linebacker core, but I think I probably got to give it to the Alouettes here. Therese Beverette, Darnell Sankey, just two really, really big pieces of that linebacker core for the Alouettes. So I think I have to give that to them. And they do have some really good guys in that secondary. Marc Antoine Decoy or Decoy, I can't remember how you say it. It's one of those
Dequoy.
Decoy, I think it's Decoy. Yeah, very good. Reggie Stubblefield, very very capable. Um, and a decent amount of others. And so just kind of two of their standout guys there at those defensive backs. They'll need to come up big. The receiving game of the Argos was the driving force behind their win against the Red Blacks. It wasn't their defense because they gave up 38 points. It wasn't their running game because they didn't have much of that. It was the passing
Mm-hmm.
game. So the Alouettes have to stop the Argos passing game. If you're Toronto, you need to be able to produce more on the ground because you're not going to be able to have the same success in the air. So if you only have success in the air and the Alouettes shut you down, you're probably not winning this game. Toronto has to shut down defensively. Giving up 38 points, it works against Ottawa when you're able to then, respond constantly on everything. I don't think, like, the way that Toronto would constantly, how every time Ottawa got points, it felt like Toronto, after, a 10-minute Ottawa drive, Toronto would make two plays and then tie it up and get exactly what Ottawa got in,
Mm-hmm.
like, a fraction of the time. If the Argos try to rely on that, I think they lose this game. I don't, because the thing is that They might have success doing that once or twice, but they're not going to be able to apply that pressure the same way. Again, which is all the more importance for a running game to be good because you have to be able to keep that defense honest. Because if you can't, then Beverett and Sankey are going to back up into zone coverage, and it's just going to create all kinds of problems. And so it's difficult. I
So
really don't know.
just looking at Week 17, September 28th game, where Toronto won by 6. Toronto scored those last 6 points within the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, if there's going to be any game this weekend that's going to be close, it's going to be this one.
Yeah. And actually, if we're just going to look at maybe some prior experience in the playoffs, we're going to start with the Alouettes here. We're actually going to go back to the last year, the 2023 Grey Cup, Grey Cup 110, where the Alouettes defeat the Bombers 28-24. Alouettes had a decent first quarter, only down by 3 to Winnipeg. Bad second quarter, they give up 7, they get nothing. Good third quarter where they're able to get a touchdown, prevent Winnipeg from getting anything. And then in the fourth quarter, 14 points for them. It was enough for them to get the win over Winnipeg. And so, very, very important win for the Alouettes, being able to, I mean, they won the Grey Cup. And hey, they had Green Day. You know, maybe that was a little bit of maybe that was some good luck for them. And also maybe it's just one of those things where, again, because Winnipeg still had that bad streak. Oh my God, I'm a bit distracted. I'm looking at this thing on Wikipedia talking about the game. Announcers: Rod Smith, Glenn Suter. Not only did I watch my Bombers lost, I had to hear Glenn Suter the whole game. Shit, I didn't realize it was that bad. But no. So this
Hey,
was
at
it was
least,
yeah.
at least this Saturday, you don't have to listen to Glenn Suter.
Yeah, geez. Is
I
he
get
doing the Winnipeg
tortured.
game? Is he doing the Winnipeg game?
I mean, I would assume so. Saskatchewan's playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know he has to go on there and smooch ass. Um, but I'm just trying to. I'm sorry. I can't. I know. I agree with what you say in terms of that. I can't stand them. I'm trying to find the box score and stats for
For
last year's Grey Cup.
uh,
That's not. Where is the box score? Final score results. No, I don't need an article. I need stats.
Oh, I can find you that, my fine sir.
Oh, here we go. Football database. There we go. Um, all that sort of stuff. Football database should have it. They have a lot of ads. There we go. Box score. Just gotta click on that.
I was gonna say.
Okay, there we go. Team stats. Yeah. So Bombers in that game. Frick, there's an ad.
I just sent you the one for CFL.ca.
Oh, I see. Passing yards, total net yards, 269 total net yards for Winnipeg. Just 4 more for the Alouettes in that game. Rushing yards. Here, where's rushing yards?
Question: your punter caught a pass last year?
Was it a fake?
I don't know. It was a 14-yard pass.
Probably it was a fake. Or wait,
Oh.
because I'm trying to see here. Receiving, Jamison Sheehan. I'm gonna assume that was a fake, unless we just threw him in. But yeah, no. Nick Dembski, Kenny Lawler, Tottenham. Yeah, Austin Mack was a big piece there last year. Got over 100 yards. Tyson Philpott did well. Sneed, Speaker, again, names that they still got kicking around. Again,
You got to
Philpott won't be in
remember.
this, but Austin Mack and Sneed still there.
Don't forget Julian Grant and Reggie White did not play in that game either.
Yeah, and they're going to have them in this game against the Argos, so that's a thing to fair. Now, one thing I think is very relevant, and Argos may not like this, 2023 East Final, where these two teams played against each other. um,
In Toronto.
in Toronto. Now, I want to focus a little bit more on like try not to focus less on the Chad Kelly isms of that because they're we can talk about that, we can joke about that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to say that that's probably not going to be what happens this year, simply because of their performance last game. Um, Not saying it won't happen, just saying it's unlikely. Where Montreal beat Toronto 38-17, where Montreal would then advance to the Grey Cup. They'd win the Grey Cup. Team stat. If we look at stats passing, Chad Kelly 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Cody Fajardo, he was 1-1 on touchdowns, interceptions. 246 passing yards for Chad Kelly. However, on 36 attempts, and again, those 4 interceptions held over his head. Cody Fajardo went 18 for 25 last year. And then with the Alouettes, if we're looking at the receiving core, didn't have very many receiving yards, like in terms of just concentrate around one receiver. 5 receptions for Tyson Philpott, 42 for him. He led the team in receiving yards with
So,
only 42. And then if we're looking at funny enough, if we're looking at the Argos, it was actually not AJ who led. He had the most receptions, but then Devarius Daniels led with 77 yards. So not a ton
one
of
one thing
offense
that I
there.
will mention for Toronto's defense compared
Mm-hmm.
to last year. Last year they had Pickett. He's gone this year. Oakman's gone. Stiggers is gone.
I think their
Barlow's gone.
I think their D line's gotten a little bit better, though I will say.
Oh yeah, their
They
D line has gotten better, but I mean,
Other aspects have definitely gotten worse. I agree. The
yes.
defensive line specifically has gotten better. But I think their defense as a whole has gotten worse. Again, they gave up 38 points last week to Ottawa. And the thing is that you can say, well, they put up 58. Again, they put up 58 against Ottawa, 44 offensively against Ottawa. So the thing is that are you like it's the big issue here, that the Achilles heel for the Argos and calling them a favorite in this game is the performance of the defense last week. They gave up that 38 points that they gave up to in my opinion, clearly inferior opponent in the Red Blacks. In the sense of I like the Red Blacks. I want them to have success, and they're definitely on the upspring. I think with now everything that they have, and the Red Blacks have finally found an identity, and I think there'll be a more attractive free agent market than they have been in prior
Uh,
years because they have a direction. Come on, Rick. They didn't have a direction before that. They have a direction with this squad. You're telling me that that's not more attractive? That's absolutely more attractive.
I don't know. I just think like because they've already said today
Mm-hmm.
that chances are Hardy and Pickett won't be back. So I mean,
Possi- Possibly not, but that's where free agents come in. You have to realize, like, if we look at other teams, I mean, I remember like Montreal when they lost guys like Eugene Lewis, which was a very big deal when they first lost him. They lost William Stanback, was a decent deal when they first lost him, and they figured out, look at where they are now. And they kind
it's
of
it's just
I'm not.
it's
I don't
just
think the Red Blacks have much to be concerned about because I think the Red Blacks, again, because of the fact that they made the playoffs, they got into the postseason, they got a young quarterback who wants to be there, who is able to perform, who's clearly getting better. In Drew Brown, and is kind of the guy that's gonna be their guy, and is definitely proven he's, without a shadow of a doubt, he's good enough to be in that starting role. I think if you're the Red Blacks, I think you've made yourself a more attractive free agent market than you were before. I'm not saying that necessarily that they'll be the most attractive free agent team on the market. I'm just saying is that,
mhm.
Rick, would it do you kind of do you agree that they are a more attractive free agent market this year than last year? Because think about it, they had no idea who the hell was going to be the friggin' quarterback last year.
I mean from that standpoint,
They were a team
I
without an
just
identity.
so
They had
I
all
will
this
put it
talent and they
this
did
way.
nothing with it. They were lost in the sauce.
So here's my thing is as long as Bob Dice is their head coach, they're not going to go anywhere.
Possibly not, but that doesn't. But I don't think that really affects the free agent
I
market in the
mean,
sense of that.
you can bring in any free agents that you want, as
Yes,
long
again, I'm
as
not necessarily saying they'll be able to do anything with those free agents. I'm just saying they'll be more attractive to acquiring players. Then at that point, they can figure out that coaching situation, what the hell they want to
I
do.
guess.
But you know what's interesting, actually, if we're kind of getting back to this game, is that if we look at the playoff pick'ems that the CFL has put out, um, both games are split completely 50-50. Jamie and I, who has the best record of the pick'ems, he's 59-24. He predicts that the Toronto Argonauts and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be the Grey Cup matchup. If we look at Pat Steinberg, who's in second, he's 44-39. He predicts the Alouettes and the Bombers will be the Grey Cup final. If we look at Matt Kaz, who is just behind him, he's 54-29. Or actually, it doesn't look like this is necessarily all in order. It just, yeah, he's 54-29. It looks like Jamie and I, it doesn't look like they've all even done the same number of games. Matt Kaz predicts the Argos and the Bombers will be the Grey Cup matchup. Christina Costabile, she is 52-31 on predictions. Predicts that the Alouettes and the Riders will be the matchup for the Grey Cup. Chris O'Leary, 39-44, predicts the Argos and the Riders. And then Vicky Hall, who's 50-33, predicts the Alouettes and the Bombers as the Grey Cup final. It's exactly 3-3 for both games. So it just shows you how close these two games are. And when it comes to this East final, this is like, this will be very interesting in the sense of that if we let's say Montreal wins. If they play Winnipeg, then it's the rematch from last year. If they play Saskatchewan, then it's Cody Fajardo not only winning, looking for his second straight Grey Cup, but against his former team in the final. So that's kind of the narrative there. With the Argos, if they make the Grey Cup final, then and if they're playing Winnipeg, then they want to get that second win against the Bombers in the Grey Cup. If they're playing Saskatchewan, then this is them playing against their buddy AJ Ouellette and Corey Mace, leading the Riders now against the Argos. So kind of a fun situation for both of these teams, no matter who comes out of this game, in terms of what that possible Grey Cup matchup could be. But I'm just trying to, like, this will be a 3 p.m. Eastern start time, 2 p.m. Central. Again, we will be streaming this on Canadian Football Central, so make sure you guys do check that out. And that'll be a lot of fun. We'll both be there for the majority of the game until I have to go, and then which Rick will be running it solo, unless he brings someone else on, which, I mean, fair enough, he could do that. And so this will be a good one. Like, Rick, are you kind of leaning towards anyone in this game yet, or are you kind of unsure? Because I'm unsure just sitting here.
So the only benefit that I will give one team over the other is I know Toronto can win on the road. That I don't have a question about. It's the hometown crowd in Montreal.
Those friggin' horns.
That, because, I mean, Montreal has a 2.5 opening betting line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the only benefit that I give Montreal is the fans. But Toronto's also won in Toronto this year, but it hasn't been a playoff game.
Yeah. Well, no, and the thing here is that those first of all, those horns will drive us crazy. Like, Rick, when we're streaming, you know we're gonna have a few words to say about that.
You can betcha that I will be having my TV mute.
Yeah,
I will go and listen to Toronto's play-by-play. I don't have a problem with that.
Rick will be walking from Hamilton to Montreal with the pitchforks to get this to stop. He'll be leading the charge. Isn't that right, Rick?
I'm just glad that they can only use them in Montreal. They can't use them anywhere else.
Yeah, so if Montreal ends up in the Grey Cup, they can't bring that crap into BC Place.
No.
And I'm gonna tell them right now, if the Alouettes find a way to be in the Grey Cup next year, we in Winnipeg will say no, that's not happening.
You know what the interesting thing is? So this is what I was thinking last week is
Mm-hmm.
of the BC Lion fans, I wonder how many sold their tickets and how many are still going to the game.
That depends.
Because I can tell you, if I was a BC fan, I would not go to listen to the friggin' Jonas Brothers if they're performing. I'm out of my seat. I'm up in the concession stands, friggin' mingling around. I will not listen to the Jonas Brothers, even
I was
when I'm watching it.
about to
Grey Cup,
say,
I'm turning that crap off.
Rick's like, I need to take a bathroom break. If you're wondering how long it'll be, I don't know, what, 4, 5 songs, however long, however much
Half an hour.
garbage comes off that stage. I don't like the Jonas Brothers. They suck.
Oh, what's that? I gotta go cook some food.
Cook some food. You're at the game where they cook that shit for you, Rick.
No, well, no, because if I'm at home watching it, I'm
Oh, I
hungry. I
see what
gotta
you're
go
saying.
cook.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm at home, I'll just mute the TV and go on my phone.
Well, yeah,
So,
too.
so fair enough. But there's so much at stake in this game. Obviously, with the winner going to
Yes.
the Grey Cup and the loser being eliminated. But also one of those things where Toronto is looking for so much redemption from the embarrassment last year, where Montreal just completely ran them over, and it was a calamity of errors for the Argos. And I don't know if they avenge it. If I'll put it this way, I don't see a repeat of last year where he throws 4 picks. I mean, if he does, that'd be crazy, but I find that unlikely. But I don't know if they necessarily win this game. There's a lot of reasons why the Alouettes have been as successful as they have this year, and why they were so successful last year to the point where they won the Grey Cup. Um, I don't know. Rick, are you ready to maybe do
Make our
do as
prediction.
everyone's doing today on U.S. election night and cast your vote for who you think is winning the East Final of the CFL? By
Well,
the way,
let's
we're
just
we're
say,
recording this video in the middle of the American election, so I'm sure by the time of this, someone's rioted and burnt crap down and punched
oh
someone
yeah,
else because some person that never will know them and never gave a crap about them won and the other one didn't. But but anyways, Rick, do you know who you're taking in this game?
I'm gonna have to go with the hometown crowd, but by a smidge, by like a hair,
And honestly, I will too. I'm going with the Alouettes as much as
not
I
by
think
much,
Toronto.
just by like a hair.
I agree with that. I think this game is very, very close. I could easily see Toronto winning this. I have been very, very back and forth in my mind while recording this video at points where I'm like, you know what, maybe Toronto.
When aren't
And then
you?
but yeah, I know. I'm very indecisive about things. You know this. Um, but the main thing is that to me the biggest thing behind my decision is not that Toronto couldn't put up points and they won't be able to put up points, but if you give up 38 points to the friggin' Red Blacks, and it's not even like saying that the Red Blacks are bad. It's just that the Alouettes are better. They have a better offensive line. They have a better receiving core. And at this point in time, I'd probably say better quarterback in the sense of that Drew Brown just needs a bit more time and a bit more refinement. So,
You're
uh,
you're sticking by that, eh?
sticking by what?
That about the whole 30. Um,
I can't ignore it. I can't. It's well because people are talking about momentum, and the momentum is true in the sense of that Toronto will have some momentum offensively going into this game, but momentum also works in the opposite direction in the sense of that Saskatchewan had momentum at one point of the season going up, but they also had momentum and it almost reached terminal velocity when they were going down the standings and they were just falling down. And so momentum works to their advantages, but it also works to their disadvantages. And I think those disadvantages are large and loud enough that I think it could prevent them from winning this game. And we'll just have to see. Honestly, this will be a crazy time. But we're both going with the Alouettes in this one. So, is there anything else you want to add, Rick? As I pretty much got everything that I wanted.
Not really.
All right, well, that's pretty much everything we got. So let us know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this game, who you think will come out victorious of this, maybe why you thought that, maybe tell us why you think we're wrong, who knows. As long as you leave a like, you share the video around and subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. If you're on Spotify, make sure you guys give us 5 stars. We really, really appreciate all that support. Just kind of allows us to keep getting this out there and growing the CFL fan content stuff for the fans, by the fans, as we go here at Canadian Football Central. Peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys next time.